Excellent. So our next talk is going to be by Eileen McFarland, and she is giving a talk called EmoReply, Machine Learning with Feelings. Everybody give her a hand, please.
Good morning. I want to thank you all for coming. I realize it's the end of the morning. You might be feeling moody or hangry as lunch approaches. That's fine, because I'm going to be talking about a side project of mine with a lot of feelings, EmoReply. A little bit about me. I am a proud Dev Bootcamp grad, RIP DBC. Yeah, and after finishing at DBC, I worked for a few years in Chicago as a software developer. I then moved to New York City to attend the Recurse Center. Woo! Yeah, and I am now a software developer at Eve. In May 2017, Gmail introduced the Smart Reply feature. I'm guessing that a lot of you have seen this in your own emails. So it's a feature where there are going to be 3 suggestions for responses. I've included screenshots of some smart replies that I saw in my own email. Does anybody notice any sort of trend or pattern in the responses? Just shout it out. Yes, lots of excitement, lots of exclamation marks. They are very happy responses. As a person who reads current events, I don't always feel this way when I'm sending emails. I wanted responses that would match the way I feel. I wanted auto responses with angst. I realized that to get this, I'd have to probably build it myself, so I created a Chrome extension called EmoReply. You can see it here. The crying emoji is actually a button because you can do magical things with HTML. And the goal of EmoReply is to replace the exclamation marks with tear marks. When Gmail created the model for its Smart Reply feature, they trained it on a corpus of user messages. When I created EmoReply, I trained it on one of my favorite books from when I was a very emotional teenager, The Perks of Being a Wallflower. So this is actually the movie poster, and I'm just going to say I have not seen the movie. I am sure it is not as good as the book. I will fight you. On the back end, I made the machine learning model with GenSim doc2vec. I'm going to give a quick rundown of word vectors of word2vec before explaining doc2vec. So word vectors would take a large input of text, that's the corpus, and then create a multi-dimensional matrix. And every word from the corpus is assigned a space in the vector, and the space between different words indicates if they're similar in context or more distant in meaning. So a common example, which you can see here, is that the distance between king and queen is similar to the distance between man and woman. And doc2vec does the same thing, except it's for documents such as paragraphs or sentences instead of words. The way that EmoReply works is that on the front end there is user input from the extension, then on the back end the user's input is compared to the corpus of The Perks of Being a Wallflower. The most similar document is found, and then it's proposed as a response. And here I have a handy dandy demo. Oh, I need permission. Okay, so we're gonna keep it moving and not show that video. I also have a link to the GitHub. How do I get that? Yeah, at the end, I'll show a link to the GitHub if anyone wants to see source code, and I will also tweet out a link to the video. It's pretty brief. I worked on this when I was at the Recurse Center, and I didn't have any previous experience with machine learning or with Chrome extensions. I wanted to run through some of the things that I encountered when working on this project in the hope it'll prove insightful to people with similar interests. One of the first things I found was that when I was trying to just test the model in the terminal, I was getting really dubious results. You can see in the top example, the test input was, can we have a meeting this afternoon? And the most similar doc found was, we're brother and sister, Patrick said, still laughing. So context for those who haven't read the book, Patrick is a character. I spent a while debugging this, thinking it must be a problem with the model, but I then realized that I had mistakenly been passing in raw text as input, and what I needed to do was actually pre-process the input using GenSim's pre-processing feature. So pre-processing will tokenize the text into individual words. It removes the white space, it makes everything lowercase, and then it also takes out all of the punctuation. Another thing that I learned is that models made with more data are more accurate. The perks of being a wallflower, according to the website wordcounters.com, has a word count of about 60,438 words, and in the realm of big data, that's just not that much data. So I decided to make a spin-off extension, EmoReply, which would use the same source code, but I was going to use the Enron email set as the corpus. If you're interested in reading these emails, I included the link, and the corpus actually includes 500,000 email messages. Yeah, lots of emails. And the way that it's divided is there are different folders for different employees, and every folder will have the employee last name. I was able to make a successful model using just one employee email folder, and I then decided I'm going to make one source text, just one text file with all of the email messages. And I actually got pretty far. I was able to create a text file, but then when I opened it in VS Code, it repeatedly crashed my computer. I sort of zip-bombed myself, but less recursion. So EmoReply is still in development. White-collar crime doesn't always pay. Next, the Chrome extension domain. I do think if you have JavaScript experience, it's pretty approachable, but it's important to keep the different scripts separate. So the one that I use the most for this project is popup.js. That will include all of the JavaScript for the extension itself. For example, the code to actually display the EmoReply is in popup.js. Background.js will act as an event listener for any browser events which are impactful to the Chrome extension. For example, if I wanted to revise EmoReply so that it automatically opens whenever a user navigates to Gmail, I would put that in the background.js script. And then lastly, contentscript.js, or just content.js. So the content script can both read the browser and also write to it. An example use would be if instead of displaying the response in the extension, I wanted to actually write it to the Gmail text box, that would go in the content script. In addition to including JavaScript files, every Chrome extension project will also have a manifest.json file. So this file includes a permissions section, and if you're going to connect to an external URL, for example, in this project, I was connecting to a Flask Python app on the back end, so I needed to include the URL for that project. If you don't include it, you can't get the front end and back end talking. I had an issue for this for a bit. I thought it was actually a CORS error, but it turned out to be about permissions. And in addition to including access to external URLs, there are also APIs that are specific to Chrome extensions. So for example, the Tabs API, that can be used if you want to open or close new tabs through an extension, and then also bookmarks. You would use that if you want the ability to manage bookmarks through your extension. I'd like to finish by making another literary reference that my teenage self would have enjoyed. In addition to loving The Perks of Being a Wallflower, one of my favorite books in high school was The Great Gatsby, written by this guy, F. Scott Fitzgerald. So F. Scott Fitzgerald once said, using an exclamation mark is like laughing at your own joke. I'm really happy that he did not live to see the Smart Reply feature, because he would have hated it. And based on the number of exclamation marks that you see in Smart Reply, it seems like Google laughs at its own joke a lot. When you think about how big a company it is and also how much money and power they have, it's really unsettling. And I also made this project because I was unsettled about the idea that a giant corporation would be affecting the way that I email and communicate with my loved ones and friends. I don't think that we need any sort of algorithm to suggest what we put in emails. I think we can do it our own. And I don't think this Chrome extension is going to change how our communication is being shaped by companies we don't know. But I hope that F. Scott Fitzgerald would have enjoyed it. Thank you for listening. Here's the